Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Rumblings Multicast Network, brought to you by the Market Dominator, who is over here and is feeling better. He's at this point he is recovering from COVID. He has turned the corner, and my man is doing good. So super excited about that. But my name is Joe Miller. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Hump Day Hotline. That over there is my guy, JSpencetheKing. What's up, JSpence?
What's up, man? I keep telling you, you got to extend that intro at the end. Every time I'm just like, I'm vibing with it, and then it's gone. I don't, you got to extend it, man.
So I've got somebody working on, and my speaker's on. Sorry about that. I got somebody working on intros for all my shows, including this one. So I've got a dude that does motion graphics. That's that I'm gonna have to pay him to do. He's not doing it for free, but I got some. I hope some sweet some intros coming. So that song will then be over an intro, like some video stuff, kind of like the cool stuff you do. Like I don't have any cool intros like you have. So we're about to have one for this show.
I got to redo it. I want more live shots instead of city shots.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I think I'm gonna redo it.
Welcome to everybody who is jumping in. I'm just now realizing that I didn't put this on Facebook. Like I didn't send it like into all the different Bills Media or Bills Mafia groups messages. So I don't know who we're going to get tonight, but it looks like we've already got some regulars piling into this thing. Nautica Hears is back. Elliot Eisler's in the room. What's up, Elliot? McNizzle, Daniel Gowers is up here. EB's in the room. Eli Padilla is in the room. You're in the room, apparently. I'm in the room. Jessica Tennis is in the room. My sister's in the room. My sister's in the room, like always. Haven't seen my mom in a little bit. My mom hasn't. There's Matthew Montgomery. Haven't seen my mom up in the room here in a couple weeks, right?
She was here. So I wasn't with you last week. She was in here the week prior.
With Sturls?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
She was in with Sturls.
Didn't see her. So how just to let everybody know, we're not going to spend a ton of time on the Houston Texans game. That game was what it was. We are what
I was about to say, they won, and that was it. Like they won.
Yeah, 40-0. Like there was a lot of takeaways. In my opinion, there was a lot more takeaways from that football game than the Miami Dolphins shutout game or even the Washington football game. There was a lot of great things that came out of that game. However, we're gonna spend the bulk of our time this evening and on this show talking about the Bills-Chiefs matchup. And I've got some good stuff. But before we get there, we'll talk a couple nuggets from that football game. I loved that the Bills put I predicted it on Saturday. I know you watched the show. You actually jumped in. We're part of the show on the Time to Shine. I love that we saw, and I was right, that we saw the Bills put a bunch of stuff on tape. And Fina confirmed it. I don't know if you saw his playlist card of like all the different run formations the Bills ran, which he was like, it was insane how many different run formations the Bills ran. Like, and he started reading them all off because that's stuff that the Chiefs now have to prepare for coming into this game, because it's not like, oh, that's the 4 different run plays that we normally run. There was like 13 different run plays that the Bills ran. I loved what I saw just from the defense, obviously. I loved what I saw from Jaquan Johnson and DeMar Hamlin. I loved what I saw from Cam Lewis. I loved what I saw just from the offense in general, especially those running backs. However, if you're ready, there was a certain dude that was the AFC Defensive Player of the Week, one Tremaine Edmonds, and I know you've got a couple things to say.
Bodies, that's what he was doing. He was catching bodies. He was murdering people live on TV. And I've been telling people since week 1. Actually, I've been telling people all off season, before the season even started, that Tremaine was coming around this year, and y'all was gonna eat y'all words. And I'm telling you, it started week 4 now. He's getting this award, and it happens. I'm just telling you, it's over. My guy is here. Okay, I need you. I did a apology for him for Star Sunday during the game. I'm gonna redo one for Tremaine, because I feel like some people are still disrespectful. I posted this morning, like, I've been trying to tell y'all all year. Somebody said, well, he's still not worth it. Look, whatever. I don't care what y'all think he is and isn't worth. I'm glad that Brandon Beane and Sean McDiddy are the guys that's running this franchise, because I'm telling you, if it was a lot of these fans who actually were making decisions, we would be without a lot of people. Like a lot of people would have gotten cut or traded, and Tremaine would have been one of them. I'm not trying to hear it. My guy is the Defensive Player of the Week, and y'all gonna eat y'all words. Matter of fact, catch them bodies. Let's go.
So Tremaine Edmonds had one heck of a football game, and he literally has done a very good job this season. He's the anchor of that defense right now, and it's exciting to watch. I'm gonna be watching him this weekend for sure. Sunday nights, dude. The Sunday night football game is just. And somebody asked me today. I was at the gym this morning, and Ben Woods from STA Performance, and just so everybody knows, I work out at STA, which is Special Teams Academy. They have a lot of connections to Buffalo Bill, to the actual Buffalo Bills, and to a lot of players. A lot of the players bring their kids there to work out, and a lot of players in the offseason work out there. Ben played for UB. They've got like Brandon Bean's kids work out there. Like, it's crazy the amount of like he preps players and NFL players. But anyways, I'll say that Ben asked me, he said, hey, I forgot where I was going with that.
We were talking about Tremaine. You said you were watching, you're going to be watching him. And then, I feel like I can't help you.
Total 48-year-old man brain fart right there. It's gone.
Hey, guess who's here?
Hey, it's my mom. Just in time. You think I'm old? You should see my mom.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. My mom is actually not old. She's actually very young and spry. Where was I going with that? I remember him asking me the question, but oh, well. Anyways, we were talking about, I was totally giving love to STA Performance there for a second. And oh, well, it'll come back to me, I'm sure. I don't remember how we got on the subject of me working out this morning, but I'm an idiot.
It's okay.
Anyway.
It happens.
Anyways, it's just been fantastic just seeing this defense kind of come into form and become what they're going. I've never done that before, like on a show. That's the first time, like literally the first time. So maybe it happens to me all the time too, just never in a show. So, but it's going to be exciting for me to watch this football game on Sunday night, and just kind of see what we're going to see. And based off of what we've seen in the past, because the Chiefs, I don't believe, based on who they've played and what they've done, are the team we've seen in the last 4 weeks. And I don't think the Bills necessarily are potentially the team that we've seen in the last 4 weeks. And I don't mean that in a negative fashion. The Bills have played some chumps, right? Not that the Chiefs have played some champs, but the Bills have played some chumps. Now, the Chiefs did play the Browns, and the Browns are, they're a playoff football team. The Browns match up very well against the Chiefs. Every time the Chiefs play the Browns, they're a hard out. It'll be interesting to see kind of this Buffalo Bills team, what that defense does, right? How they contain, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, and then what the Bills offense can do against that defense that is right now ranked 30th in the league. They're one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Thoughts on that?
Well, for starters, I want to comment on your point about the Cleveland Browns matching up well. I know that's not the Bills game, but I mean, if you go back to last year's playoff game, even when Patrick Mahomes was not in, the Cleveland Browns took them to the wire. Like it was
yes,
one of those games where they, it came down to the last drive. So
yes,
no, I think that Cleveland, outside of Buffalo, a lot of people give them that credit, but I think Cleveland actually, I think the AFC Championship game is going to be Cleveland and Buffalo. I don't think it's going to be Kansas City. So now fast forwarding to us,
wow.
I do.
That
I think
is
it's
a
going to
hot
be Cleveland
take.
and Buffalo.
Hot take.
I don't even think it's a hot take. I think it's like and I know you watch, but I mean, like, I think if you watch all the games from all the teams, top to bottom, Cleveland just has that roster. And right now, the only thing that's stopping them from being great is Baker. And I'm not, this isn't my normal Baker's trash take. I think Baker has improved, but I think he hasn't improved enough to be the guy, and he's there. He's in Cleveland. He's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. Like the first quarterback to take him to the playoffs. He's done enough to stay. But the thing is, with that roster, with those two running backs, that offensive line, the receiving core that he has, and that defense, you can't be mediocre. And the numbers that Baker is putting up, and I see Matthew saying Baker will be better when Landry gets back, but that's not an excuse. Landry being injured is not an excuse. Last year when Josh didn't have John Brown, his numbers didn't fall off the cliff. He still had to perform, and he had good receivers. Cleveland still has good receivers and two very good tight ends. So the team is stacked. I don't want to hear about Landry. I just don't. Baker has to show improve at this point, and so that's the only thing that might stop him from getting to the AFC Championship. But I think it's the Browns and the Bills.
That would be, oh man, how do I put that? Go ahead.
Oh no, well, Bruce just said that Josh Allen opened this year with 2 bleh games, and Mayfield is still behind him in Stu and all advanced metrics, and that's what I'm saying. Regardless of who his receivers are, go ahead.
Put that. Yeah, keep talking. Just leave that up.
Okay, and so regardless of who his receivers are, these stew and advanced metrics and all this stuff that we're looking at, you can't depend on one player for the offense. So what Baker is putting out there, we're seeing film. We're seeing Baker is not the guy that we thought he's going to be. He's not performing up to the number one overall pick. If you're going to redo that draft, Josh Allen is clearly the number one pick in that draft.
Yeah, leave that up. But you're potentially hamstrung to a $40 million like a year contract for a guy that's not Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, right? No, what I was going to say about this picture, and just so everybody knows, Bruce, me, and Jay Spencer, like super close. We're all good friends. But like that's the picture. His avatar that he's changed is the picture where Bruce Almighty is going, love me. Like he's telling his girlfriend to love him, and like that's the one thing you can't mess with is free will. You can't make somebody love you. Just wonder if there's some subliminal stuff going on there for Bruce. I don't know, but love you, Bruce. So we do love you. So just so you know, we all love you, and we love the stew chart. It's pretty fantastic. Moving to, or I guess staying on the defense, DVOA, the Buffalo Bills this past weekend, and it's scrolling across the bottom, performed in such a way that since these stats have been keeping track, or at least as far as since they've only gone back to 1983, the Buffalo Bills in this football game against the Houston Texans, that was the best DVOA performance from a defense in NFL history going back to 83. Absolutely insane. And I guess the question I have for you, was it the defense, or was it the opponent, or was it the weather, or was it all three? Was it all the above?
I mean, everything plays a factor, but in reality, and this is, I said this on Code of Conduct the other day, it's like, it doesn't matter who we're playing against. The thing is, it's the NFL, and you have a roster full of guys who didn't want to be shut out, and they couldn't score a point.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, and then look, those guys are getting paid just like us. I don't know, man. Like, granted, I feel, and I said this on the show too, if Tyrod would have started, I feel like they would have scored at least,
yeah, for sure. That game has a totally, even with the rain and the weather, completely different dynamic. The two games that Tyrod, the game and a half that Tyrod played, right? Game and a half Tyrod played in, totally different dynamic with Tyrod in the football game from the run standpoint to the pass standpoint. That game, yes, plays out completely different. Not that the Texans win, but it's a different score if Tyrod's playing football.
Yeah, Tyrod he's a better quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback, and Bills fans know him well. We know why. He was the gap quarterback before Josh, and we know why. So he's a good dude. But, and real quick, I do have to just comment on one disrespect. Tyrod Taylor is not the Grant Hill of the NFL. Grant Hill is a legend. And
I was going to say, which way you going on that? Because to me, Grant Hill is way better than Tyrod.
Yeah, no, Grant Hill is like, I understand that he had injuries and he didn't win the championship and do all the stuff that we always thought he would do. But let's not disrespect Grant Hill. I am sorry. I love the NFL, but basketball is where my first love is. And Grant Hill was one of the OG legends to me. Please, let's not do this. Please. But I'm sorry. I had to address that one because Tyrod, he's my dude. I love Tyrod, but no.
Everybody loves Tyrod. There's not a whole lot of us that don't. So how do you think that DVOA, and you texted me that today, just that conversation about DVOA, and I told you, basically I don't know a ton about it. And to be honest with you, the person to bring into this show is Bruce to talk about DVOA and what that means. Because Bruce he's a statistician. That's what he does. Like that analytics stuff is that's his wheelhouse. How does that DVOA stat and what the Bills did to the Texans defense, how does that translate into this game against the Chiefs on Sunday night in primetime?
Well, first, prior to me answering that, do you mind if can I ask Bruce if he's free to jump in to discuss that? Like that one part?
Ask away. Bruce, he's waving at us. I don't know what that means.
Bruce, if you're not busy, if you can jump in for a quick 5 minutes just to explain, because I sent the screenshot as well to Bruce. Well, he was in the chat with us.
We don't have to send him a link. He's got
right. He can just jump in. Yeah, just jump on in. So, but I think Bruce does a great job with explaining stuff like this in a way that I can get it because I'm not the brightest crayon in the box sometimes. So I would very much like for Bruce to jump in. And if not, if you're busy, I can understand and appreciate it. But if you have the free time, please jump in and let's talk about this. But I think what we're going to see, well, I don't know how much it translates to this game. This game, we're playing against an offense that is still, even though the team overall hasn't performed up to what we're used to out when you're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, this team is still very much a dangerous offense, and they still can do a lot of things. Now, the difference is we got to see, we see Patrick Mahomes making those bonehead plays that people used to say only Josh Allen made.
Right.
Now we're seeing Patrick Mahomes make those plays.
So it's about the pressure.
Yeah, and right now, they're all every team is under pressure, but when you're known as the greatest and you're the best player, that's what happens. So before we keep going any further, we got my man Bruce in. Thank you for joining so quickly, Bruce. I appreciate you doing that. How's it going today?
Well, I mean, it's going well. I mean, I'm just at your beck and call. They just, I'm like, I'm a little bit like casserole from your church family. When you have a need for it, you just call it down and it just shows up on your porch. That's the way it is. You're like, oh man, what's his problems? Well, casserole. Let's just throw casserole at it. That's the Bruce. Apparently.
Casserole is better. It's better than macaroni salad, right?
Well, it depends on the casserole. I've had some pretty lousy casseroles in my life, so that makes sense. Oh,
I can't say I eat much casserole. I just can't say I eat much casserole. So I'm sorry, fellas. I can't say that. But so Bruce, though, the reason why we got you in, and I mean, obviously you're welcome to stick around for the entire show because we love you. But if you can kind of speak to the stat, the DVOA stat, and I'll read it really quickly if you guys like. Let me pull it up in our chat here. The stat said that since the Bears in the Super Bowl, what year was that? 1985, I believe.
Yep, 85, 84, 85 Bears. Yep,
the 85 Bears in the Super Bowl. The number was negative 106.1%, and then following that was the Eagles with negative 116% in Week 3 from 1991. The Bills had a defensive DVOA of negative 134.6%, which is that's just unbelievable. So Bruce, can you kind of explain, so for everybody who doesn't understand what the DVOA stat is, can you kind of explain that and then explain, how the heck we were better than the 1985 Bears this past Sunday?
Okay. So I'll do my best, but if you all are familiar with the term rushing and passing success rate, if you're familiar with success rate is based around the idea that yardage in and of a vacuum isn't necessarily a good measure of how successful a play was. So if you start with that basic concept that how many yards you gained on a play isn't necessarily what determines whether or not that play was a success. I'll give you a great example. If you gain 3 yards on 3rd and 10, is that a good play? Are you happy about that? Well, of course not, right? If you gain 3 yards on 3rd and 1, are you happy with that? Well, yes. Well, both cases it was 3rd down, and in both cases you gained 3 yards. But the success of that play is very different. So you start off from a foundational principle that yardage is not in and of itself good or bad because it's situational. If you get 10 yards on 3rd and 25, that's not successful. If you gain 10 yards on 3rd and 9, that's extremely successful because you were behind the sticks and you managed to make it happen. So let's start from that principle. Then you think, okay, well, what does success constitute? And success in rushing and success in passing is based on being able to pick up a certain percentage of the yards necessary to be able to get the desired outcome, which is the next set of downs. Or if you're within the 10, then you want to get a touchdown, obviously. So very long time ago, Pete Palmer, Bob Carroll, and John Thorne wrote a book called The Hidden Game of Football. And what they said was on first down, a play is a success if it gains 45% of the needed yards. So if you're first down and you gain 4.5 yards, that's good. On second down, you got to gain 60% of whatever you've got left. And on 3rd and 4th down, a success is simply convert, right? Get to the next set of downs. So what DVOA does is it takes that basic principle and it says, okay, so we know that success isn't based on yards. Success is based on what you were going to gain relative to what you needed. So if that's the case, then we need to start figuring out whether or not the play was successful based on that. So it starts from that, and it awards actual success points behind the scene. Then you get bonuses for red zone plays because the swings between positive and negative are more successful and more significant in the red zone. Plays that score touchdowns are obviously more significant. If you get, 3rd and 1 on the 5 and you convert it, that's success. But it's not as successful as scoring a touchdown from the 5.
Right.
So all these things go together in an algorithm. Then on top of that, you say, okay, how successful were you? Now that we have established whether or not the play was successful, let's take it and line it up based on how other people did against the team you're playing. That's the key. That's what makes DVOA different than success rate, because the D in DVOA stands for defense adjusted.
Right.
So it's defense adjusted value over average, right? So it's how well did you do versus this defense? And then how well did other people do in that same situation? So if you were successful, great. The last time another team had that exact same situation against that exact same defense, were they successful? Then you take those two things and you line them up. And that's where you get DVOA. How successful are you against the team with other situations exactly like that? Because if you were 3rd and 7 from the 24 against the Texans, guess what? Plenty of other teams are going to be 3rd and 7 from the 24 against the Texans. That's going to happen. So the longer the season goes, the more accurate DVOA gets, because the more data and the more sample size you have of this stuff happening in identical circumstances against the team. That's what DVOA is. So they take these things and they say, okay, how good did the Texans do against the Bills relative to other teams against the Bills in those scenarios? And the answer is bad. They did bad against the Bills. So when other teams may have been successful on 1st and 10, because we've already established what success is, okay? So let's say other teams were successful against the Bills 10% of the time on 1st and 10. And the Texans were successful against the Bills 1% of the time. That's good for the Bills, bad for them. And that's how DVOA functions. In terms of defense, negative is good. In terms of offense, negative is bad. And that right there is essentially me trying to wrap up DVOA, which is really, there's 4,000 words written on DVOA on footballoutsiders.com.
Right.
Like, so I'm doing my best to try and get it into about 4 minutes. So I hope I did okay.
No, you did great. And what's funny is when I read it, when I was reading about the Bills just game this past weekend, they actually talked about the fact that they don't weight it right until later in the season when the teams have kind of shaken out and kind of presented who they really are, because we all know that the first quarter of the season is a liar, pathological liar. And what Aaron Schatz said is they actually put the weights in, and even with the weightedness of the first quarter, which is not normal, the Bills still come out as the number 1 DVOA team since 1983, which to me was that was the point where I was like, okay, maybe there really is something here. And the hard part about that is, like, the Bills have been playing trash football teams, right? They're not playing great football teams. So it's not, I don't even know where to put this.
Well, you don't put it anywhere right now. You just know they've been playing well. The longer the season goes, the more accurate the metric becomes.
Right.
So at the very beginning, when, like you said, the phrase that you said that I like is not that the first quarter of the season is a liar. That's not the key word. The key word there is pathological. It's always a liar. It can't help but be a liar. If you look back some of the week 1 outcomes last year, I have died in my survivor pool 2 years in a row on week 1 by having my team lose to a team that actually stinks. That happens all the time.
All the time.
So it's not just a liar, it's a pathological liar. But the longer it goes, it's a little bit like QB stew in the sense that the longer the season goes, the more accurate it gets.
Right.
And that's good because you understand anything that is so weighted towards sample size, you have to love a little bit because you know it gets more and more accurate the more sample size you have.
Yeah. So the best part about this is I kind of like roll this through my mind is me or husband, Bills fan, sitting in the kitchen going, babe, to our wives. The Bills were number 1 all time in DVOA. And then she says, what's that mean? And we're like, I don't know, but it must be good. So thank you for that explanation, because that does help. Like, that actually kind of brings some clarity to it for sure.
Hey, happy to help. I'm sorry to barge in on you guys there. I was just enjoying. I was sitting on the couch enjoying your show.
We invited you, and you don't have to leave. You don't have to leave if you don't want to. So the follow-up question that I asked Spence, that I'll now present to you, is how does that DVOA, if it does at all, and maybe it doesn't, how does it translate to this Chiefs game? What do we go into it expecting, knowing that we came off of one of the best defensive performances in NFL history?
I think the thing that's going to be interesting for me is that this is going to be the first time where the Bills are going to play a quarterback who can break your DVOA. Right? He can break those averages, because really the interesting thing is, how well do you do against Patrick Mahomes versus how well do other people do against Patrick Mahomes? Right? That's really what this is. Right. It's not about making Patrick Mahomes bad. That's not going to happen. Patrick Mahomes has probably only had, this is not hyperbole, he's actually had one bad game in his career, and it was the Super Bowl. Like one legitimately bad game. This is not hyperbole. Go back and look at every single game that Patrick Mahomes has had. There's only one of them in his entire career where he started the game, played the entire game, and said, yeah, he didn't play very well. And it was the Super Bowl. That's it. So he's a great measuring stick, because it's not about getting him to play bad. It's about the different shades of how well you will play and how badly he will play. It's about trying to minimize what he's doing and maximize what you're doing, which is really the point of DVOA to begin with, is how well do you do in the same situation as other people? It's attempting to add context. And that's the problem with metrics. And as a guy who loves metrics, we can all agree that the lack of context in them is the issue. Every single time someone says, well, yeah, he had a bad shoulder. Well, yeah, it was played in the rain. Well, yeah, there is no way to incorporate all the context.
Right.
But DVOA at least attempts to do some of the context, which is, who are you playing against?
It's good. Super, super good. Spence?
I mean, what do you say? How do you follow up to that? I mean,
I literally, for those of you that have not paid attention or did not at least tune into the John Fina show on Monday, I literally spent Monday and Wednesday with basically having my head explode. Like, there's a great deal of like, I don't know shit about football. That's what John Fina told me, and that's what Bruce Nolan just told me. I don't know shit about football.
So thank you, Bruce. You're teaching us a lot. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, I'm happy to be a part of it, guys. I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. You know, I'm sitting on the couch, and I just finished up recording my show and setting the thing for Friday and all this stuff like this. And I was like, I'm gonna kick back and watch some Hump Day Hotline. Like, that's what people do on Wednesday nights, right? I mean, all the cool kids, they kick back and they watch Hump Day Hotline. So I was kicking up, watching Hump Day Hotline. They're like, hey, you want to join? I'm like, well, the office is right over there. I could just sneak in real fast. Nobody would even notice.
Perfect.
Well, I appreciate it because that stat to me was so fascinating. And, you know, like, so everybody, obviously you're not in the group chat with us. So like, I sent a screenshot to Joe and Bruce, and I'm just like, this is amazing. And, you know, both of them loved it and was like, yeah, it's amazing. But we didn't really discuss it, and we didn't go through the conversation of it. So the way you just explained it there, Bruce, like you just absolutely made me a better analyst. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm here for you guys.
Love you, dude. Have a good night.
Have fun, but not too much. Exactly.
Not too much. Never have too much fun. You can never have too much fun. But that was like literally head explode moments.
Jake says the lecture hall is now dismissed.
And it's literally there was a play, and I want to pull the video in a minute when we talk about just Josh Allen, because I know that we're going to. There was a play that the breakdown from Brian Baldinger, and this is what it's going back to. So it's going back to when I talk about my head exploding. The second throw, the 31-yard pass that Josh Allen had to Stephon Diggs, where he rolls to his right, or his left rather, and then evades the blockers, or I should say the pursuers, and then chucks the ball down the field. I said to John Fina on Monday, I said, clearly these guys missed their assignments. It was bad. Like they totally like missed their blocks. And I said at that point, you can tell because Mitch Morse, I think it was Mitch Morse and Darrell Williams turn around basically to watch Josh Allen get sacked. So they missed their blocks and then they turn around and they're watching this thing unfold. And John Feeney's like, no. They didn't miss their blocks at all. That's exactly what they're supposed to do. And I was like, wait, because okay, I'm wrong. And it was just like head explode moment. It's like, okay, so every time I see something on TV, it literally means that I don't know anything about what I'm watching.
Last season on the Chop Up, Lorenzo Alexander basically told me the same thing. And ever since then, I've used my relationships with these guys that like now I'm growing these relationships. So I use my relationships to ask questions and to learn how to really watch film and to understand what I'm watching. There's a lot of times like, so for instance, I'm always on this Tremaine Edmonds campaign and I'm always on like Levi Wallace and all of these guys. So what ends up happening is fans will get mad and say, oh my God, Levi sucks. Levi gives up every time there's a 3rd and 3, he gives up 10 yards when in reality, the Bills don't necessarily say give up the first down, but the Bills want him to cover the guy that he's covering a specific way.
Right.
And same thing. There are times where Tremaine Edmonds, his actual assignment is to do something. And when he's doing it, because the ball is going somewhere else, it makes it look like he missed his assignment or he missed a tackle or he didn't do something that he was supposed to do. When in essence, he's doing exactly what the team wants him to do. So when it comes down to that, now I look like the idiot when I get on the show or on Code of Conduct and I'm like, oh, these guys don't know what they're doing. They got to do better. And so, but then what ends up happening is now you got players who are like, F that dude. I'm not going on his show because he doesn't even know what he's talking about. Now I'm learning. And so what Bruce just mentioned, what you just talked about with John, and then like I said with Lorenzo, the thing is when you're watching these games and you're like, oh, these guys, look, I promise you, 9 times out of 10, you don't know what you're talking about because I don't know what I'm talking about. And Joe just admitted he don't know what he talking about. Let's just let the coach, let Sean McDiddy do his thing. Sean McDiddy knows what he's doing.
Lastly, to wrap that up, thank you, Bruce, for taking a couple minutes out of your evening and away from your family to spend it with us and jumping in just on a whim. That's what's awesome about just being a part of this and being a part of this family and Buffalo Rumblings and being connected to Bruce. Bruce is just he's a I'm going to use the word asset. Like not only is he a friend, but like just having him a part of what we do and the ability for him to just jump in and explain to us, because literally what that little play thing, that skit that I did where us as husbands are like, the Bills were number 1 in DVOA all time. And our wife's like, what's that mean? And we're like, I have no idea. That's all of us, right? It must be good because people are talking about it. And then you got Bruce out there that literally knows what the heck it means, which is super, super cool. So this football game, we need to transition, not need to, I want to. I really want to transition to this Chiefs football game. And I would preface it by saying this. I just got done recording with some podcasters for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I was completely floored by the opening conversation that was, when the schedule came out, we circled that game on the calendar. And I was like, wait, you, the Chiefs fan, circled the game against the Bills? Because that's not how we view the Buffalo Bills or us.
Right.
We view us as circling the games on the calendar. And they're like, oh, we absolutely circle. And he's like, and now it's circled twice. And it's like, so you're anticipating, and they're beaming about Josh Allen, beaming about who he is and how special he is, because all of us on Bills Mafia on our side, all we hear about is Good Morning Football, Pardon My Take, Nick Wright, all these guys talking about how Pat Mahomes is the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now, blah, 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 blah. And they're like going on and on about how special Josh Allen is, to the point of at the end of the show asking me who the greatest Buffalo Bill of all time is. I said Bruce Smith. And then saying there's a good possibility, they said there's a good possibility when this is all said and done, Josh Allen is the greatest Buffalo Bill who's ever worn that uniform. And I'm like, what bizarre world? I'm like, what is going on right now? So this football game.
See, that's another conversation that we could have, because that's actually a good question. Because in my mind, it's like, yeah, if Josh wins a few Super Bowls, then yeah, obviously. But the thing is, there's several conversations that I've had where I said that Bruce is the second or third best player of all time, not just
Correct.
Bills player. But so like, even though Bruce didn't win championships, it's going to take a lot for me to be like, and it's not even a Bills thing. Like, to me, LT is that guy,
Yep.
so it'd take a lot for somebody to take LT off the top of that list.
For sure.
I don't know what Josh would have to do for me to be like, yeah, Josh surpassed, because that means he would have to be a top 3 player of all time. And I don't know if I could take that in my heart. Like, my heart would explode from happiness, and
I
just don't know.
I used the reality of the situation, which most people don't know, and I would dare to venture to guess that most people in the chat section, the comment section right now, don't know it either. That Bruce Smith played the right defensive end in a 3-4 defense, and only played right defensive end. He never moved around the offensive line or the defensive line. He played against the best player on the offensive line every single down, in a defense that was usually predicated by the outside linebacker being the rusher. And it wasn't. It was Bruce. Like, he did something that no other defensive end has ever done in the history of the NFL successfully for however 18 years. He played for 18 years and walked away from the game the sack leader. Like, he is without a monster, without a shadow of a doubt, the greatest Buffalo Bill who's ever played. So yes, to your point, like, what does that? What would Josh Allen have to do? That's not where we're going with this conversation. But
yeah, I'm sorry, but I mean, like, when you said that, it's just like, whoa, like, I couldn't imagine, like, for Josh to do that. Like, can you imagine the success that the team will have to have?
Yeah.
I don't know if I could take that success. Like, I'm already starting to talk crap. Like, I was talking to a guy earlier at the gas station, and he said something. I had on my Bills face mask, and he said something like, "Oh, you guys are going to get trashed this week." And I can't say on air what I said to him, because we have sponsors and stuff, so we can't say bad things. But I'm like, yeah, dude, you don't know who Josh effing Allen is. Like, that's the problem with you. So, to your point though. So Sunday. Yeah,
Sunday's
there's
game.
everybody. It's. I feel like we see it how we see it. I don't understand why there's still the misconception that, like, Buffalo don't get that love though, or that respect. I feel like everybody around the league at this point circles the Buffalo Bills in their calendar, divisional teams. Like, everybody's like, oh, it's the Bills. We have to, like, they show up for the Bills. They play their hardest for the Bills. So I really don't understand. And I don't watch. I will be honest, I don't watch much stuff during the season, and I don't listen to many podcasts during the season, because I like to try to keep my content as original as possible.
Sure.
Not everybody does that. A lot of people steal content. I try not to, and for that purpose. Shots fired. Boom, boom. Shots fired. But but the thing is, I do know all the time I hear nothing but high praises for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So I guess I'm a little confused there. But no, they better circle it, because if not, if they sleeping on us, we about to wake that ass up.
Yeah, for sure. It was just something that I was not expecting to hear from a Chiefs fan, just because everything that we see on social media, everything that we see from, the national media, is just that Josh Allen is, a stepson to Patrick Mahomes. So, and that's the here nor there. At the end of the day, when we talk about this football game, at the end of the day, this football game is about the Bills offense versus that Kansas City Chiefs defense, which is not good. That Chiefs defense is bad, very bad. 30th against the pass. They're not great against the run. They've been beaten by, obviously, teams they should have beaten this year. And then it's also about that Chiefs offense against this Bills defense. And this Bills defense is much improved. And the question I got asked was what I expected, or if I had a prediction. And I said I didn't have a prediction, because for me, it comes down to one of two things. How is this game for me? And you might have a different opinion. And if you do, I'd love to hear it. This game for me comes down to coaching. What are the Buffalo Bills coaching staff? What are they going to do coming into this football game? Are they coming into this game conservative? Are they coming into it the way we've seen them last year, trying to dictate? Which means that if you're trying to dictate what the Chiefs are going to do, you're changing what you do, which I am never a fan of. So if you're doing that, what does that mean? Or are you going in there and, you know what? We're going to chuck the football all over the yard, because that's who we are. And wherever the chips fall, the chips fall. And whatever the final score is, the final score is. And I have more to say about that. But for me, this game is about coaching. It's not about numbers. It's not about statistics. It's not about DVOA. It's not about Josh Allen being number one in the league right now against the blitz. It's not about Pat Mahomes and where he's at. It's not about their defense being 30th in the league against the pass. This game is about coaching for me. Where are you at?
I could take that. Like, that's a take that I could get behind. For me, though, I do think I think that the defensive pressure at this point is through the roof. I think right now, it's coaching. It's for sure coaching because it's a chess match. But I think that the defense has to show up. Period. I don't think there can be any other discussion more important than the defense has to show up. Because if you look at the AFC Championship, they were doing exactly what they felt like doing it, when they felt like doing it, how they felt like doing it, and it didn't matter. If you go back to last year in, what was it, October, when the Chiefs came to Buffalo.
Yes, the championship game to me is an outlier. Both those games are somewhat outliers. The championship game is more of an outlier than the regular season game. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, to me, they're similar. I know the score looked better in the regular season, but and I know you've watched it as many times as I have.
Yeah,
they kicked our ass, dude. Like it like the score got closer because the score was, but no, like that game wasn't as close as the score showed. So I don't know, man.
I want to pull. We're going to back up a second. I want to pull this question up. Eli Padilla, because it's going off in the comments. Joe and Spence, in your opinions, if Josh wins one Super Bowl, does that put him ahead of Kelly? What do you guys think? I know where you fall, but I'm gonna let you answer, and then I'm gonna answer.
I think Josh has already surpassed Jim Kelly.
Right. So I knew your answer was, because we've talked about it on this show last year.
Yeah.
If Josh wins one Super Bowl, in your opinion, he surpasses Jim Kelly. For me, I'm not quite there. I'm not quite there because of guys that have Super Bowl rings named Trent Dilfer and Doug Williams and, Jeff Hostetler and Mark Rippon. Like, winning one Super Bowl to me does not elevate you into the echelon of one of the greatest quarterbacks, maybe not top 10, but one of the greatest quarterbacks that have played football ever. So I just wanted to hit that real quick. We also have a super chat. You were just pulling it up. Sorry. Go ahead.
Nautica says, shout out to my homegirl Nautica. She says, if we kick field goals inside the 20, I'll lose my mind for damn sure. Yes. I will not have a mind. I will not have a mind if we do that. No, for sure. Like that can't happen. But just to that comment real quick, though, I just don't want to move too quickly past it. I know I'll probably get bad because I always do when I talk about Jim. I'm not like a Jim hater.
No.
However, I think Josh has already shown us that he's by far. I just do. I don't think that we're going to see any super regression that will take us back to rookie Josh. I think Josh has surpassed who Jim Kelly ever was on the field. Jim Kelly had great years. Go ahead.
I was going to say that you can't have a conversation where the national media and the people that know talk about Josh Allen being the best athlete in football, right? And he's the quarterback of a football team, and then assume that he is not at some point in time going to be better if he's not already better than the best quarterback this football team has seen, right? I mean, and I guess that's where I would leave it. That's not where we were going tonight to have this conversation, but Brett,
I just think that people's emotions stop people from like being honest. And I kind of mentioned that on the Code of Conduct this week too, where it's like we get so in love with our players, and it's like, no, he's been granted, Jim Kelly has been a Western New York legend forever. So I'm not at all questioning that, and I'm not at all saying that Jim is not what Jim is. That dude in Buffalo, and he's gonna be that dude for a long time, like probably until way past I die. You know what I mean? Like, Jim is that dude. I'm not questioning that. But what I'm saying is Josh is that dude too. And he hasn't won as many games yet, but that's because he hasn't played as many. Guess what? The stuff that Josh is doing, he literally has the best season of a quarterback in Buffalo Bills history under his belt already. Right. He literally has the best season for a quarterback in a Buffalo Bills uniform in history. So y'all can say, like, I already see some of the comments like, hell no, Spence is wrong. He's not. I promise you. But I saw 3 already.
Even to your point, though, Josh Allen didn't have Thurman Thomas. So, I mean, So there's a great deal of, like, if you've got Thurman Thomas on your football team, you're giving him the football. Like, you just are. If Josh Allen had Thurman Thomas on his football team, Thurman Thomas was rushing for 100 yards 13 out of 16 games.
But that didn't stop Jim from Jim had a year. So Josh had how many yards passing last year? Like 45, right? 4,500
something. Yeah, 4,500.
Yeah. He surpassed Jim in his best season. And it wasn't like by a ton. He didn't do it by like 600 yards, 7 or 1,000 yards. So what I'm saying is Jim still was flinging that thing around. Even with Thurman. Thurman was a receiver as well, out the backfield. All I'm gonna tell you,
Bruce, prayer answered. This has happened already.
I was gonna say, I think I said it like trillions of times already, but I got you. I got you. Next time I bring up Bruce, it will. Yeah, I don't know where Bruce is.
Legit has happened.
Yeah, but no, I'm just telling you. No, he's saying so did Bledsoe for 1 year. I'm not talking about yards. I'm not saying he had the best yard or most yards in the season. Josh Allen has the best season as a quarterback overall, not yards. It's one thing to throw for 1 trillion yards and not enough touchdowns. Josh has done it all.
Let's bury that conversation because that's not what we're supposed to be talking about. So that's an off-season, right, conversation that there's already a lot of passion about. So we have an opportunity to have a conversation about that in the off-season.
Just because Bills fans don't know how to fall out of love, man. Y'all got to do better.
So let's talk about the Buffalo Bills versus the Chiefs, which we've kind of toyed with a little bit. So I said that I felt this football game was about coaching, right? So where are you at on this football game, and what do you see as the keys to the game?
Like I said, defense first.
We're not going to get away from it.
We're not going to get away from it, but it's an honest question. At any point, and I'm sorry for those listening to this in podcast form, Bruce posted a question. It's an honest question. At any point in his career, was Jim Kelly the second best quarterback in football?
Yes.
Please answer that question. When?
The answer is yes. There was several years where it was Marino and Kelly. As much so that's the problem with this whole conversation is we don't have recency bias. The recency bias for us is Jim Kelly retiring in 1996 and John Elway going on to win 2 Super Bowls with the Denver Broncos. What people don't realize is that when Jim Kelly retired, his numbers were better than Elway's minus 2 seasons. He had 2 less seasons than Elway, had better numbers. So recency bias, you can say whatever you want to say about come on, man. Jim Kelly's Elway couldn't beat him. Marino couldn't beat him. Montana couldn't beat him. None of the quarterbacks in that era could beat him other than Troy Aikman. And I'll sit here and tell you that Troy Aikman shouldn't be a Hall of Famer.
I agree with that part, but the thing that you're saying about all those AFC quarterbacks,
all of them, there's 2.
Well, but I'm saying like Marino, yeah, we owned him. You know why we owned him? Because you know why? It wasn't the defense. So it wasn't Bruce. Come on, man. And then you also got to look at. So you're talking about Marino. How many Hall of Fame receivers and running backs and all that stuff did he have with him? When you talk about Marino's past,
that's not.
You don't have a guy that stands.
That is
no, it's not. But
wait, time out.
Wait, I am.
A second ago, you said Thurman doesn't matter if he's with Josh Allen.
That's
but
not
now
what I
Thurman
said.
matters with Jim Kelly.
That's not what I said. See how y'all switch words? I didn't say he doesn't matter. I said Thurman was getting his yards and he was a receiver. He contributed to what Jim did. I'm not saying that Thurman doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is, yes, Thurman matters. He had a Hall of Fame running back. He had a Hall of Fame wide receiver in Andre Reed. He had great come on, man. Like, y'all can't act like y'all. Come on. I love Jim too. So now it's
the players and not the quarterback. So now it's about the surrounding cast and not the quarterback.
If you put Jim Kelly with Kelvin Benjamin and tell me he's going to do what
so then is Patrick Mahomes without Travis Kelce and Hill?
We've yet to see that. He hasn't had the opportunity to show us that he can be just as dominant without. But Kelly has always had a top defense and a top offense.
Oh, he did not have a top defense. The biggest problem that the Bills had was the defense.
It was their biggest problem, but they also always had
Bruce.
Come on, you got the best edge rusher in the league, and he's always dominant. So even if your defense isn't good, like you're causing problems for that other quarterback. We fall in love so much with the past, and I get it. Like he's enshrined as like the greatest. I'm just telling you, like you got to paint the whole picture. We can't just say it like
the question.
The question was he ever the second best quarterback in the league? And he wasn't.
He was.
That's the end. No.
Well, there's this one right here. Jim Kelly finished second in MVP voting only to Thurman Thomas in 1991. That would make him the first best quarterback in the league in 1991.
That would make him on a team with 4 Hall of
You
Famers. But that's
you
fine,
can't have a conversation that Aaron Rodgers was the best quarterback in 2020. And Josh Allen wasn't close because Aaron Rodgers had a better season and won the MVP, and then not say that Jim Kelly was not the best quarterback in 91 if he was the only quarterback with MVP votes.
I'll go
You
a step
can't
further
have that
than
conversation.
I can, because I'll go a step further than that and say if you so for instance, this is why I felt like Aaron Rodgers deserved the MVP last year. You give Aaron Rodgers the roster that Josh Allen had last year, they're a Super Bowl. Period.
I don't disagree necessarily.
And Aaron was still better than Josh. So that's what I'm saying. He was better than Josh with less. So when you're talking about Marino, he always was better than Jim with less.
He was better than Josh in some points. Josh didn't have Aaron Jones. Josh didn't have Robert Tonyan. Josh didn't have Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, you say that Devontae Adams is better than Stephon Diggs. So Aaron Rodgers did not have less. Aaron Rodgers' offensive line was better than Josh's offensive line last year. Yes.
Okay. And for the record, the gap between Diggs and Adams is not like huge. When I say he's better, I'm splitting hairs. So
totally.
I'm not. So I'm not,
totally.
But he also didn't have Cole Beasley. He also didn't have. We didn't think Gabriel Davis was going to be Gabriel Davis. We didn't have that last year, or he didn't have that last year. So yeah, he had Adams and he had a running back. But what else? Josh had an offense, man. Like there was no offense doing what we did last year besides the Chiefs. And Aaron was still better.
Riveting conversation, but we're not talking about the Chiefs. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce, twice. Thank you for coming on and like so awesomely explaining DVOA. And then thank you, Bruce, for sending this show completely sideways for 10 minutes.
Well, the thing is, though, like people just are not being honest about it. And I love Jim. But he was never better than Marino. You got to be honest.
He was never better than Marino. I didn't say that.
But you just said he was the second best quarterback in the league.
Second best. If Marino's number 1, who's number 2? John Elway was not number 2 every year.
I'm not saying John Elway.
Who were they?
No, but I'm just saying, like, he wasn't like.
Were they? Back then it was Marino, Kelly, and Elway, and that's it. Who beat Jim Kelly in the Super Bowl? Mark Rippon, Jeff Hostetler.
No, but again,
Troy
wins
Aikman.
are not quarterback stats.
That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is who were the quarterbacks of that day that were going to the playoffs. Montana, which Jim Kelly beat. And Montana did not play, I think, Super Bowls 1 and 2. He was injured. And then he went to the Chiefs, and the Bills retired him. Bruce sacked him and put him out of the game.
We can go ahead and move past
I would not say that Jim Kelly was the number 1 quarterback ever the years that he played. But to say that he was never number 2, Elway did not have all great years.
I'm not saying that he did. But what I'm saying is we immortalize this guy as if he is just the greatest and there would never be a replacement for him. And I truly believe the season that we saw from last year, Josh Allen, I truly believe was the best season we've seen as a quarterback in Buffalo. So to me, that surpasses. If you have the best season, you're the best quarterback.
I'm not arguing that. I mean, other than the game changes, I'm not arguing that at all. Like that's not what we're
change.
Yeah, we're not arguing that at all. So as much as Jim Kelly was different than when Terry Bradshaw played football, Josh Allen is different than when Jim Kelly played football, for sure. Totally, right? I mean, yeah, I'm not arguing that at all. Josh Allen legitimately has the best quarterback year for a Buffalo Bill in the since the Bills have existed. However, he also has the least amount of handing the ball off in a year since the Bills existed, which makes a big difference. But we wanted to talk about the Chiefs, and we're 54 minutes into this show, and we kind of haven't.
Everybody's talking about the Chiefs this week. Let's talk about something that everybody in the comments is blowing up. Everybody's going to talk about the Chiefs. Let's keep it going where everybody's at. Bruce said Warren Moon and Marino ahead on yards. Young. So look, all I'm saying is, the guys who you and I both respect, and not just Bruce. I'm sure if we had this conversation with Joe Marino, with Pat, let's put a group chat together when we get off of this thing.
If we're going to have the conversation, 2 of us, of the guys that you just named, are going to have a different opinion than the other 3, because 2 of us watched him play like as adults. We weren't 12. We weren't 8.
Bruce, I'm sure Bruce was an adult.
Bruce was not an adult. He's around your age. He's in his 30s. I'm guessing he's in his 30s. I don't think he's 48 like I am. He's not an old dog who forgot what his comment was when he's trying to tell a backstory. Pat Moran is my age.
Bruce is older than I think Bruce is older than you think. I don't think he's like 60 by any means, but I don't think he's 33.
I don't think he was 20 when the Bills were going to the Super Bowl. I could be wrong. Bruce can tell me. He can. So I just think that there's going to be varying opinions based on age and what we saw, because recency bias. There's one thing to have a conversation about what the stats read, because I can sit here all day long and say Otto Graham was an amazing quarterback. All he did was go to Super Bowls, but I have no clue what Otto Graham did because I never really saw him play. I have no recollection of it at all. And that's really, even at 48, that's how I feel about Montana. I don't really remember the mid 80s when Montana was great. For me, Steve Young was better than Joe Montana because I watched Steve Young play. I didn't watch Joe. I saw the numbers. I saw the Super Bowls. But to me, Steve Young is better because I never watched Joe Montana play. And that's how a lot of...
And for the record, I do not seriously take offense, but I do take offense to the fact that just because you were an adult doesn't mean that I can't go back and watch the games. I've seen Jim play. Like, it's not like I'm just saying this based off of...
When I was a kid, I don't remember Joe Ferguson playing football. Like,
right, but I'm a grown man now, and I watch Jim. Like, I'm becoming a student. Like, I love film, and I go back and watch games. And what I see from Jim is that he was a very, very, very good quarterback. But I'm not in love the way everybody was in love. I think that he had his flaws. He had a bunch of flaws, actually.
Which
last season,
which were
first of all, he wasn't that mobile. And I get it. The game was different back then. He didn't need to be.
Neither was Marino. Neither was Marino. Marino had lead feet.
Marino didn't have to be. Marino could fling that ball around. I've never seen a better thrower of the football than come on.
But you said mobile. Marino was not mobile.
But we're not talking about Marino.
So he's not mobile. What's his other flaw?
See how offended you're getting about?
I'm not mad at all. I'm not mad at all. But you can't say that the man had flaws. I mean,
no, he did. He did have flaws. He wasn't the greatest of all time. And Bruce just gave you a whole list of stuff that showed why other players could be considered better.
I didn't see it. I was in the middle of my diatribe when he was throwing this stuff. I'm scrolling back now. Jim,
like I said, I'm not at all saying that Jim is bad. I think that's where things get confused a lot of times when we say stuff. Dan Marino was a better quarterback than Jim. Can we agree there?
Oh, who would not agree to that?
A lot of Bills fans don't.
That is not true. That is not. And they're young Bills fans that never saw Dan Marino play football. Dan Marino was the best quarterback possibly to ever play football. Better than Tom Brady. He was incredible.
I will agree with you there. I think, and I hate giving him this credit because he was a Miami Dolphin, but I think Dan Marino was like, he sets that bar for me for quarterback play. Like, that guy was amazing. Jim was amazing. I'm saying, like, when we have these conversations, I'm not by any means dissing Jim. I love Jim.
The problem that I have with the Jim conversation is when people elevate him above elevate Elway above Jim, because Elway won 2 Super Bowls in 97 and 98 after Jim retired. John Elway gets Terrell Davis, who is a freaking monster in a wide zone running scheme. And all of a sudden, John Elway, because he helicoptered into the end zone, is the second greatest quarterback to ever play football. And it's like, that's not history. That's not what history says.
See, in all honesty, though, and maybe we just aren't in the same conversations most times, because I never hear Elway mentioned that way anymore. Like,
the only other person you're saying, if Jim was never the second best quarterback in the NFL during his tenure, not to mention the only other person that could be in that time is John Elway. There was nobody else. Montana was injured and wasn't playing. Steve Young was later. Steve Young was a Tampa Bay Buccaneer and didn't work. But
Warren Moon was nice.
He was throwing the ball all over the field in the run and shoot, but he wasn't necessarily. I mean, it wasn't right.
No, come on. Warren Moon was nice, man. Like, come on.
Wasn't the second best quarterback in the NFL.
Okay, we could talk about the Chiefs.
No, we can't. The show's over.
I'm just saying, you're like, really, like, we gonna act like Warren Moon wasn't that dude. And I know Bruce wants to be that dude. Bruce is that dude, but Warren Moon was that dude. We gonna really act like
We have success. No, I love Warren Moon. I don't not like Warren Moon. You're talking about kids from I have football cards of all these of all these guys. This is my childhood. You're talking about like literally my 12 to 22-year-old age self. Like these are all the guys that Steve DeBerg, people are putting Steve DeBerg in there. Oh, that's so funny. I mean, you're talking about it's just a hard conversation to have because what people watched versus it's the Jordan versus LeBron debate. Those of us that watched Michael Jordan play football would never say that because we got the ability to watch Jordan play and we have the ability to watch LeBron play. They're two different players. And those that never saw Jordan play don't ever say that Jordan was better than LeBron. They're on the LeBron side. Those of us that watched Jordan play are like, y'all don't know what you missed. Like
I've seen both. I've seen Jordan play, and I my love is more rooted in basketball than it is football, which might surprise some. I've seen both, and I think LeBron James is the best player of all time. I do. He does more. Michael Jordan was the best scorer I've ever seen. He was the most aggressive closer I've ever seen. He played defense great. He did a lot of things great.
LeBron is a freak for sure.
LeBron is
6
just
foot
different.
8. Yeah, 6'8", playing the position that he plays is just not normal as far as that goes. But Jordan,
he's going to have a triple-double for his career when he's retired. Like, so he's going to have 10,000 rebounds, 10,000 steals.
Right,
assists. He's going to have points. He's going to have a triple-double for his career. Nobody has done that. So it's like, and I get it, stats and whatever. Look, LeBron's different. LeBron is different. So, and that's fine, Troy. I lost you, or Trey. I'm sorry. That's cool. LeBron, yeah. But you talk to basketball heads, and I'm telling you, like, and I'm not just saying people who've seen both. You're gonna have the argument. Some people really do feel like Joe just said, like, no, Jordan is that dude, and I can't be mad at Jordan. Like, when I say somebody is over the other, it's not necessarily an indictment on the other player. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, Jordan's trash. He was never good. No, if LeBron's one, Jordan's two. If Jordan's one, LeBron's two. I'm not at all dissing Jordan. I just think LeBron has done, like, LeBron is ridiculous. And same thing, like, people sleep on the fact that that Jordan had the teams that he had when they try to say that Bron's teams is whatever. Jordan had
Bron's Cleveland teams weren't great
at all.
I mean, his Cleveland teams were not good. So we are totally like. So if you came for the debate, we're old school Hump Day hotlining it tonight when you and I would debate all kinds of crazy stuff. But this was fun. So we're an hour and 2 minutes into this thing. It's probably time to shut this thing. That hour and 2 minutes went by.
Go for a quick 15 minutes. Let's hit the Chiefs for 15 minutes. I know you really wanted to get to them. Let's hit them.
For me, as far as the Chiefs go, and I have this in here, and we can probably start here. It was supposed to scroll, but it didn't. What does the outcome have to be for you to feel good about this football game against the Chiefs?
Well, I mean, a win would make me feel
only a win.
I'm done with moral victories.
12 to 10, 9-7. Bills kick 3 field goals. Patrick, the Mahomes scores, they get 7 points.
These two type of teams, so the Bills and the Chiefs, if the game is 9-12, I'm okay with that. If it's 10-12, I'm okay with it because we both know who their offense is high powered. If that means their defense showed up on both sides and it becomes an amazing thing, then I'm good with the win. But I'm so over moral victories at this point. Like, we don't have to, we played good on defense and we don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
I want to win. And it's time that we get over this hump, and it's time that we beat this team.
I agree to a point as far as that goes. I don't know that it needs to be, because for me, it's about a mindset. And I think the Bills have a mindset right now as a team that we have not yet in this current version of this football team been in a situation where we can play with these guys. I don't think for 1 second that 9-point loss in the season last year was like, oh, we played with them. We only lost by 9. I think that score was not indicative of what the Chiefs did to us. And I think you would agree with that. Mm-hmm. For me, a win is a win, right? I don't want to see a 12-10 win. I don't want to see a 9-7 win. If I'm going to see a win, I want to see a convincing win or something that's in shootout vernacular. And this might just be my bias as it pertains to this football game. When I think about this game, I think there are no moral victories. However, there are mindset victories. If the Bills lose this football game, to me, 42-38, it tells the Bills we can play with these guys. Because I think the coaching staff specifically, and by and large, the team follows the lead of their coaching staff and what their coaching staff tells them. The coaching staff has told this team, we can't win a shootout. We don't want to get in a shootout with Patrick Mahomes. If we get in a shootout, we're going to lose. If the Bills go 42-38 and lose that football game, that tells the Bills, in my opinion, the players, we can play with these guys. We stop them one more time, we win. And that to me speaks volumes to the future.
I tell you what, we're going to really see what this defense is about. This is a real test this week. Hot take.
Oh, yeah. It's not.
I'm sorry. I'm misbehaving today.
I love you, Jay Spence. I love you, dude. You are my favorite. That's why you're my best friend. That's why you're my bestie, dude.
I'm misbehaving. I'm going to get in trouble. I'll probably get a DM after this.
That was amazing. But do you understand where I'm coming? Do you understand where I'm coming from when I say that?
I do. I get it completely. And I understand if there's a portion of the fan base that feels that way. For me, I don't even want to see it. I don't want to see a 39-38 win from them. Like
from them,
I want to see a win. Yeah, like if they beat us by a point, to me, it's not like, oh, well, we can hang with them guys. I'm tired of hanging with those guys. I'm tired of.
But I think a point 14-13 is different than a point 42-41.
I think an L is an L.
An L. You don't think there's something to be said for the Bills coming into a playoff football game? We put 40 points on them last time. All we need to do is stop them one more time. If we can stop them one more time.
I don't want the
versus
I want to go in there and I want to beat them.
Versus 10-9, we lost by 1 point, couldn't do shit against them, had to kick 3 field goals.
To me, an L is like when it comes to this game. So, for instance, we lost against the Steelers, right? We hated that. We won week 2. Well, we won week 2, and it was like the way we won. Some people were still like, I got questions. Like, yeah, we won 35, but the offense didn't quite look like the offense. Josh didn't quite look like Josh. Week 3, we won, and it wasn't a shutout. But we all felt better because of the way we won. With this, the Chiefs, they're past that. The Chiefs we need to beat them. You can't feel comfortable with a loss anymore with them. Like it's not about being like, hey, we we stopped Mahomes. He didn't throw 300 yards. At least he only threw 250. And no, I don't care how I want to win. And to be honest with you, I want to go into Kansas City and I want to smack them. I don't want this to be fun at all.
I do as well. For me, there's a great deal of, and this comes back to what I said early on in the show, that it's about coaching. If the Buffalo Bills coaching staff walks into this football game and says, hey, we don't think we can win a shootout. We don't want to get involved in that. We want to control the clock and limit possessions and all that BS, which is garbage, which they've tried to do in the past and did not work. And now the one thing the Chiefs have going for them is the run game. And the Bills are going to be like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put the ball in the hands of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary and rely on that. And we're going to take the ball out of the hands of Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, Dawson Knox. That to me is infuriating and an insult.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen now, though. I think the offense has something to prove. I do. I know he was injured. Stephon Diggs told us after the fact that his rib cage was injured, and we all know now that Cole had the broken leg or fractured leg, not broken. Sure.
It was a torn. Yes, Diggs had a torn abdominal muscle, is what it was.
Yeah. So we know Diggs had his injury. We know that Beasley had his injury, and so we had a beat up offense. I think the offense has a chip on their shoulder at this point. Like, okay, we didn't look the way we wanted to look in the AFC Championship game. We got to go out here and do this. But like I said, the pressure's on the defense. The last 2 times we faced these guys. Go ahead.
I agree, but it's not. They don't get to choose. It's whatever Daboll does. Do you think that the Josh Allen walked out onto the football field in 2019 in that hurricane against the Eagles was like, I'm gonna throw the football 41 times. I don't care what anybody says. Or do you think Daboll was like, we're going to throw the football 41 times in a 55-mile-an-hour wind. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the Bills offense thinks they have to prove. It's about what McDermott and Dable decide they're going to do. And that, to me, is the crux of this football game. I want to see them go out there and like abandon the run from go, other than when they've rope-a-doped them. We've passed the ball 17 times. You're all on your heels and back. And now we're going to give it to Zach Moss or Devin Singletary, and the dude's going to rip one for 26 yards just to punch you in the face.
I'm with it.
But that's my fear, though. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Well, my fear is losing. That's my fear. No, seriously, if
the Bills lose this game, they're still going to be 14-3. I'm not worried about losing this football game.
Well, I predicted them during the offseason to lose this game. So, like, this was one of the games during the season that I felt like we were going to lose still. I didn't think that you remember over, with the free agency moves that we made or didn't make, and with the draft, I didn't feel like we moved the needle enough to close the gap against the Chiefs.
Right.
I think the way they're playing, I think the Chiefs are going to come out a little motivated and ticked off. So I think that this is going to be a better game than some Bills fans are getting cocky. It's like, oh, the Chiefs suck. You see their defense, they're horrible. We're going to blow them. Look, I'm going to just tell you, I need to relax.
I'm not on that wagon. Yeah, I'm not on that wagon.
Yeah. And now one thing I do, and I don't want to overstate this, but I think chemistry is a big deal as well. They still have a very good offense. They're adding Josh Gordon. And I don't know if it's going to be adding Josh Gordon like, okay, we'll give him 5-10 snaps just to kind of get him in the mix, or if they're really going to try to get this guy in there. I know that Patrick Mahomes thinks that he is very good. Like to Bruce's point earlier, he's only played one bad game in his career. I know he thinks he can make everybody look like, everybody can be the greatest when they're playing with him. I personally, I just don't think that Gordon is there anymore. I just don't. So
was he 31, 9 years in the league? I mean, yeah, I loved Josh Gordon.
I mean, 3 years in the league and 6 years out,
Yeah, I loved what he brought. I think Josh Gordon could have been, I don't know why I'm talking about this. Josh Gordon could have been one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play football, and just obviously had things that he struggled with. And in the NFL, regardless of where you land on the rest of that stuff, as far as what the NFL allows and doesn't allow, and it is what it is. But to your point, yeah, more than likely he's not coming in and he's not going to be Sammy Watkins in this football game. I agree.
Shout out to Don. Yeah, I agree with her as well. She said, I just want Josh Gordon to be healthy and stay sober. And I agree with you 100%.
Agreed.
But when it comes to this football game, he going to catch this, because Tremaine going to catch a body if he run across the middle. As much as I want him healthy and sober, yes, amen. But if you run across that middle, you about to get caught. It's going to be some tape. It's going to be some tape on the field.
So
I ain't talking about game film.
Game predictions. What do you got for a game prediction? And if you guys want to just jump in the comment section and give us what you got for a game prediction in this football game, what do you got, Spence?
I got 31-24 Chiefs.
Really, that low?
Got 31-24 Chiefs.
I think it's going to be in that 42-38 range, 38-35. I think it's going to be tight, but high scoring. And if it's not, don't listen to the overreaction post-game show, because that's going
to be the highlight of my freaking week. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. If we lose, that's going to be the best part, because it's going to be a bad loss if we lose. That's going to be the best part of my week, is listening to your show.
If we lose 12-10, it's not going to be a fun show to watch, because it's not going to be great. It's just not going to be great. If we lose 38-35, there's going to be takeaways and things to talk about and stuff like that. Shout out to Nautica, by the way, who showed up on the Time to Shine. And I think she was a lurker for a long time, and now is like a part of this thing. Part of this thing. So she's in here, so we appreciate you. I will send tissues, my sister said. That's funny. Josh Allen stat line?
I think Josh, I think he has a decent game, but I think he still tries to overexert himself. So I'm going to go 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 315.
Yeah. Whoops, where'd it go? Son of a, it just scrolls too fast. Mafia Mom asks, so you think the Bills move the ball less effectively than the Eagles? I'm honestly asking, no sarcasm. No sarcasm taken. I don't know who you're asking. I don't think either. So you said, what was the number you had?
31-24.
And I said, I think 38-35, 42-38. So no, neither of us think that the Bills are going to. The only reason the Buffalo Bills score less than the Eagles or have less yards and less all of that stuff than the Eagles is because the coaching staff has decided that we're going to run the ball 45 times and we're going to allow them to run the ball 45 times. And they're going to try to what they call speed the game up and keep the clock running to limit possessions. That's all we're saying. And what I said is if the Bills do that, I'm going to be infuriated because that's not who the Buffalo Bills are. And to me, to win, you dictate, right? You make them play your football game.
Yeah. I'm with you. I just I just think that right now the Chiefs are still in our heads, and like to Bruce's point, I believe it when I see it. I not that I don't believe in our boys. I think that we're talented enough to do. I thought we were talented enough to beat them in the AFC Championship game. I 100% did, and I still do think that we can beat them this Sunday.
The distraction factor in that to me was big.
I just think all of it. I think all of it.
I still go back to the Buffalo Bills staff and ownership trying to pass a rule in the NFL that coordinators and whatnot cannot interview for jobs until after the AFC Championship game. I feel like the Bills walked from that game going, our coordinators were not invested in that football game because they were worried about getting jobs in the NFL.
I don't know. I just feel like that's a cop-out. And I'm not, not attacking your take there, but I just feel like because every year the Final Four teams coordinators are interviewing for jobs because if you make it that far, you're being looked at. Eric,
sure.
First of all, their offensive coordinator is by far, in my opinion, he's by far overdue for a head coaching job. He's been interviewed every year for the last that guy, he's by far just like you ever listen to his pressers?
Mm-hmm.
He's the most impressive coordinator. Regardless of what metrics you want to put it up against or who you want, the guy is so impressive.
Yes.
He's interviewed every single year for 5 jobs. Yes. And it doesn't matter. Their offense is still doing what they're doing. So while I agree with you, like there was a ton of distractions that we weren't used to because we were not used to being on that platform or that level. I get it, but I don't want to use that as an excuse. They came out and they beat us.
Gotcha.
They just did it.
Josh Allen for me, I've got him over 4 Bills. So I think if Hurts is going to put up 400 yards against the Chiefs, I think Josh Allen is going to as well. So probably in that 420 range, 4 something range. 3-4 touchdowns, AK Cash. Yep. We just need to go. Thanks for the super chat, AK Cash, by the way. Thanks for being a part of the show. We just need to go down and put up 50 points in their D. They are atrocious. And that's not outside the realm of possibility. As much as Bruce said it, you agreed, I agree. I'll believe it when I see it because Bruce also said that they're kind of the boogeyman for us. And this isn't a news flash. The Chiefs have always been the boogeyman for the Buffalo Bills. In the heyday of Jim Kelly, that we were just talking about, the Chiefs had our number, just like the Steelers did. So this is kind of like that moment to flip that script as far as that goes. The only time the Bills that I remember beating the Chiefs when I was a kid was in that AFC Championship game when they knocked Montana out of the football game. So big game coming Sunday. Big game. Final thoughts?
Huge game. Final thoughts is enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy every emotion of it as a fan. Just enjoy it. Like it's the season to really like take your time with these games and just like really enjoy all the motions. That's why when I came for week 1, we lost, but that's why I enjoyed the entire tailgate experience. I wanted to take pictures with everybody, and I wanted the same thing here. If you're going to Kansas City, good, represent properly, be loud, but at the same time, just please, everybody, just take it in, enjoy it. This is the year to do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned into, whether live or in podcast form, the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Rumblings Multicast Network. I'm your host, Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wire. That's my co-host, JSpencetheKing. Where can they find you?
Oh, at JSpencetheKing on Instagram and Twitter. I barely use Instagram, so you might not want to catch me there yet. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get my Instagram up. I promise.
That's awesome. This show is brought to you by the Market Dominator. Who's the Market Dominator? Well, the Market Dominator is a real estate broker with Keller Williams. My guy, John Spascheck, actually mine and Jay Spence's guy, John Spascheck. Yeah. John is an awesome dude. And if you're looking to buy or sell a home he can help you anywhere. Clearly he's based in Western New York, but he can help you anywhere in the country. John and his team. I got to
talk to John.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I interrupted your read. I got to talk to John about what I was talking about earlier. Yeah.
So you need to call John. So if you're going to call John, You're going to call him at 716. It's right there on the screen over here, down there. 716-570-3298. 716-570-3298. John will answer his phone. You can also reach him on his email at yourelitebroker@gmail.com. John is also Bill's Mafia. You can find him on Twitter at yourelitebroker. But John is the man. His team is awesome. I've used him. All of my friends have, and now it sounds like Jay Spence is going to use him too. So,
but you know what? I just had a squirrel moment. Like that's where you catch it. Just like you. So earlier you had a moment where you forgot something live on the air. Now I'm having squirrel moments on the air. Like, oh wait, I got it. Yeah, no. Yeah, got big news coming for everybody for next month too. I probably will announce it within the next week.
I was gonna say, you're not gonna, so you bait us and you're not going to tell us?
Well, I've been having big announcements a lot lately. Speaking of which, did y'all catch the code of conduct with Benny the Butcher? Holy smokes, man!
Yeah,
I'm still on a high from that. I'm still on a high from that. We got Conway coming up, and we got West Side Gun coming up too. So, be on the lookout for those. But that's not the announcement.
Yeah, sweet. And then Saturday night, the Bills Mafia Time to Shine at 8, and then the Chop Up at 9 live on YouTube, and then the Overreaction post-game show at 9 on Sunday. So with that, I'm Joe Miller. I love my Buffalo Bills. Go Bills. Go Bills. We'll talk to you guys later. Love you, dude.
Peace. Love you too.